Hi, welcome to the Carnivore Stories podcast with me, Alyssa Grubner. The carnivore way of eating completely transformed my life, and it's stories just like the ones you'll hear on this podcast that kept me going every step of the way. I hope you're ready to hear an inspirational carnivore story. I know I am, but first, let me tell you about the Meat-tastic t-shirts I have for sale on my spring store. It's a great opportunity for you to become a walking billboard if that's what you're into. And it's a great opportunity for you to support your new favorite podcast. You can find a link to the spring store in my bio on Instagram at Meat, M-E-A-T, Mrs. M-R-S, Grubs, G-R-U-B-S. I'll also put a link to the store in this video's description on YouTube. So check it out and get some carnivore swag. All right. This is episode 17 of the Carnivore Stories podcast. Today, I am joined by Shelly from the Portland, Oregon area. She's a quality control coordinator for an education publishing company. Shelly is 52 years young. She looks fabulous, and she has got a passion for parkour. You can find her on Instagram at carnivore.parkour, where she is sharing some of her parkour moves that any man or woman half or a quarter of her age would be hard pressed to try and emulate. You are killing it.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. You are so welcome. You deserve it. I'm so impressed. Like I think the last reel you posted, you're doing those pull-ups. And that is not easy. It's especially for a woman with, upper body strength, sometimes that can lag behind, but you are, I'm looking up to you.
Thank you. It was something I didn't think I would ever be able to do, even one, and to be able to do, 5. It's something I've been working towards for a long time. But I've been stuck like at 3 or 4 for years, actually.
Okay.
I just recently got some progress going on that.
Yeah, good progress. They look fabulous. I mean, you're going all the way down, all the way up, because I'll do them and my husband will get on to me. He's like, those aren't real pull-ups. You got your arm bent, but you're doing them for real. Okay, so Shelly, how did you first hear about carnivore? I know you were paleo for some time. What prompted, where did you hear about carnivore and how did you start on that?
Well, I've heard about it probably the first time from Dr. Barry. I probably saw one of his videos and I didn't really think much of it. Like most people, I thought, well, you can't do that. You have to have some vegetables and stuff like that. And my husband actually was doing keto at the time, and he had seen Dr. Barry's video, and he was like, I think I'm going to try carnivore. And I was like, no, you're not. It's like that's crazy. And he never did it. But that was probably like 2018 or something. And then I tried it in the first part of 2020. I decided to give it a try, and I did it for about 3 weeks. This was right before the first lockdowns happened. I did it for about 3 weeks, and I just couldn't get past the diarrhea. It was really bad, and I had a lot of fatigue, and I probably wasn't eating enough. I probably wasn't getting enough electrolytes. I kind of, even though I had been keto, I kind of went through all of that again by cutting out carbohydrates. But so I stopped at that point and just went back to keto. And then in 2021, so in 2020, I turned 50, started going through menopause, and then had all the hot flashes, and my weight just kept creeping up, even though I was doing keto. And so in 2021, I decided I needed to cut the carbs back some more. So I started doing between 0 and 10 grams a day. And then that helped. And I started eating a lot more meat. And so before, when I was doing keto, I was eating mostly vegetables and a little bit of meat and a big salad. And then when I started doing ketovore, it kind of flipped, where I was just doing a little bit of vegetable and a lot more meat. And so then towards the end of 2021, in December, I kept reading about it. I kept watching videos. I watched all the Meat RX success stories, and I kept hearing about, people gaining muscle by sitting on the couch and things like that. And I've had for a long time stalled in my progress in parkour with my strength. I felt like I just wasn't, and I thought maybe this is it. Maybe, after 8 years, maybe this is as far as I'm going to get, and I'm just going to maintain or at some point slip back. And I thought, the only way I can really improve now at this point is to be stronger. And I kept hearing about, people gaining muscle, by going carnivore, and that was my main motivation to do it. And so in December of 2021, I started the carnivore diet again, and that's what I've been doing since then.
Awesome. And it's working out for you a lot better this time around.
Well, I still went through, I stuck with it this time. So I still kind of had the same issues that I had before. As far as the diarrhea, I noticed when I started doing ketovore, I wasn't used to eating that much meat at one time. I had a hard time eating enough. I had a hard time. I felt like it was never leaving my stomach. It was just always, 6 hours after eating, I felt like I had just eaten. And it took a while. And then I have trouble with fat. I have to really monitor how much fat I eat because it'll just go right through me. And so I've had to really mess with it, try different things, and gradually increase my consumption of protein. I started taking hydrochloric acid and some ox bile, and that helped with it, helping to leave my stomach, it seemed like. And so I've been able to gradually increase my the amount that I eat. I don't eat nearly as much as most people say they do. I eat about a pound a day.
Okay.
I don't think it gets to the point sometimes if I try to eat more than that, I don't feel well. I feel too stuffed, and so I've just had to accept that that's how much I eat, and I'm doing with it now. But it did take a few months of trial and error and trying to figure out how much fat, how much protein I can tolerate, and building it up. And then, I did have quite a bit of fatigue early on. It probably took a good 6-7 months to get back to how I felt before I ever started carnivore. It had a dip, really. And so, but what made me stick with it this time was that I lost all of those food cravings. Because before, even when I was just eating a little bit of plant, I would eat and I'd be full and I'd be stuffed and I still wanted more. Even though, I'd think about eating, I'm like, yep, I still want more, but I can't, because I knew how I would feel afterwards if I continued eating. And after 2-3 weeks on carnivore, I would eat and then I would think about eating more, and I was like, oh no, I don't want it. And so, for most of my life, at least ever since I had my son back in the early 90s, it was a constant battle of don't eat that, of me forcing myself not to eat what what was around and what I, and having fantasies of food and things.
Oh yeah.
And that just went away, and that's what really kept me going, because I did not want to go back to that. That just freed up my mind so much of not having to think about not eating something, all day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
these last few weeks, probably the last 6 to 8 weeks, I've started feeling what I was hoping to feel, which was an increase in strength. It's hard to measure. The pull-ups is the only way I know how to measure it.
Hmm.
I don't lift weights. I just do body weight.
Right.
And so, but I've had so many firsts this year, in parkour. I've had so many things that I've worked on over the past 8 years that I've been doing this. And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can do this now. And when I can do this now, and I'm
Hmm.
making progress again. And so to me, that's the only thing really that's changed is the diet. And I think I'm finally
Yeah.
eating enough protein to actually build more muscle. Whereas
Hmm.
my life, my protein intake has been pretty low, even when I was like doing keto.
Okay. So you've dialed in how much protein and fat you can have in a day. Are you tracking, or is it just kind of like eyeballing and
I
getting
weigh it.
getting a feel for? Okay, okay, so you weigh
I
it.
I weigh it just because my I want more than what's I need to put on my plate. And
Okay,
and
okay.
it's not because I'm worried about getting too much calories or anything like that. It's just that I won't feel well if I overeat. And
Yeah.
and especially the fat. Um, I try to cut all the fat off and weigh the leaner parts and then add the fat back in, because if I overeat just a little bit of fat, I won't be able to leave the house. And that's just
Yeah.
that may change,
Right.
over time as it may just be that I'm really slow to adapt to this, because before
Yeah.
I didn't eat a lot of animal fat. I ate mostly like vegetable, like olive oil and avocado, coconut oil, things
Hmm.
like that. I didn't eat a lot of animal fat before, and it just may just be something to do with me that, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like everybody is so different, and I'm definitely more like you. Like if I have too much fat, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a bad day. So I have found though that as time goes on, I'm able to have more fat. So where in the beginning, I had a 4 tablespoons of butter with a meal, that would have did me in. I feel like now I have more of a threshold before it's like, uh-oh, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I especially, I can't do the rendered
Oh no. Yeah.
all. So I will fry, I'll buy like fat trimmings or something and fry them up in the air fryer, and I do butter. I do pretty well with butter.
Mhm.
Um, but, and I don't eat any dairy or anything, so other than butter. But
Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting because some people, they rendered fat does not bother them, and I'm just like, how? Because that's like that's the worst. I remember when I first started carnivore, I was, all like, okay, all the fatty meat, all the fat, and I had fried up a piece of brisket in a cast iron, and I poured all of that rendered fat on top, and you already know. What that was terrible.
mhm.
But carnivore can be really rough for some people in the beginning, but it seems like the more people I talk to, people will stick with it even still, even though it's rough, because they are getting, some undeniable benefits outside of whatever hardships they're experiencing in the beginning.
Right. Yeah. And then I mean, and as I have gotten into my upper 40s, 50s, the weight just, it became harder and harder to keep my weight where I wanted it. It kept creeping up, even though I was, doing keto. And so that was another, when I started carnivore, at first I lost a few pounds, then I gained a few pounds, and then I lost them again. Now I'm just I'm pretty, I'm pretty steady. It kind of fluctuates up and down just a little bit, like most people's will. But it pretty has an average that it hangs around, and so that was nice, that, and also that I can just not eat if I if I'm traveling. I don't eat. I don't have to worry about it on the airplane. I can easily go 24 hours without eating and be perfectly fine and not even really notice it. And so that's another, benefit of it, that if there's nothing to eat, I'm okay just not eating. So
yeah, it's not an emergency. You're not gonna like go break down somebody's door for a donut. So.
right. Yeah, before I started keto, especially when I was doing paleo, and then before that, I was just standard American diet. I never would leave home without food. I wouldn't, if I was going to be gone more than an hour or two, I had a sandwich or, some fruit, or I would not leave home without food because I was hungry all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so how about family and friends? How have they reacted to this diet change? I know you said your husband was the first one to bring it up. So is he carnivore too?
No, he's not even keto. He kind of tries to do keto every now and then. But he hasn't been able to stick to it. So he kind of fluctuates back and forth. He's never really done carnivore. He'll occasionally do like a 5-day fast, and he's not fat adapted or anything, but he'll just like decide to do a 5-day fast or something. And I'm like, well, you should, after your 5-day fast, you should like, not go back to eating all the crap. But he does. So, but I've struggled with my gut for many, many, many years. And my family's used to me trying all kinds of different things. And so, and I eat healthier than any of them. So there's not really anything they can, they can say. But yeah, my son, he's done some keto. He hasn't done carnivore. He's done some keto, and he knows when he first got married, he became, or not married, but when he first got with the woman who's now his wife, she's a vegetarian, and he became a vegetarian. And he got sick. I mean, he gained weight, he'd always been thin, and he gained weight, and he felt really bad all the time. And, then when I started doing keto, and then, my husband tried it, and he tried it, and he went back to eating meat. And I mean, he lost all that weight just like that. He even like really stopped eating that many carbs, but he knows that if he eats too many carbs, he can't sleep, his skin gets itchy. He knows how it affects him. And so he will still eat them, but with the knowledge of that if he does, he knows this might happen, and that's the risk he's willing to take. But I'm just glad he has the knowledge and is able to make that choice. So but my husband to have an iron gut, he can just seem to eat anything, and it doesn't really bother him. So
that is so annoying. My husband's the same way, and I'm like, oh, it must be nice. I wouldn't know.
Well, I mean, he is overweight, but it doesn't seem to affect his it doesn't make him feel that bad, but he does heartburn and things like that. But he's had that for his entire life, and it's just something he's accepted, I think. And so, but he knows from the times he's done keto that the heartburn and everything goes away. But
I mean, the
addiction is that bad that willing to put up with that to have the chips and the bread and
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, something I've really come to terms with lately is everything is hard. Carnivore can be hard to stick to it. Keto can be hard, but it's hard to live uncomfortably also. And I think for the people who do stick with carnivore, the discomfort of being unwell is so great, they just don't want to go back to that ever.
Yeah, and I was really, back 2013 is when I first started researching what was wrong with me. And
Hmm.
I had really bad gut pain where I would only eat soup for a week because anything moving through my intestines was painful. And that's when I did an elimination diet, and I started basically paleo because I figured out all the foods that were causing the problems. And I never went back there. Anytime I did have some bread or something, it would just come back. And so it was just reinforced that way. But I would never have been able to do parkour if I hadn't healed those issues, because I just didn't have the energy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have ever made it.
Yeah. So you started parkour 8 years ago. You've been at it for 8 years.
Mm-hmm. I was 44.
Wow.
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
how did you get into that? What prompted that decision?
After I figured out what was all my food intolerances and things, I started gradually feeling better, and I wanted to exercise, but I get bored real easily. And so I'd done some weightlifting and yoga and things like that, and I never stuck with it. And I was trying to think, well, what can I do? What do I like to do? What did I do when I was a kid? And I always liked to climb trees and to jump on rocks. I lived in the country, and I would build obstacle courses in my backyard. I would use my swing set for things that it was never intended to be used for. I was always stuff like that. And I thought, I like obstacles. That's what I want. I just want to climb on things. I want to, jump over things. I just want to do things like that. And parkour, I was so fortunate to live in an area that has many parkour gyms. Actually, we have several just in the Portland, not, the surrounding areas around Portland. And a friend of mine's, her son was doing it, and I had gone and watched, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do parkour. And so in the funny story, I started researching, it's like, okay, what can I do this? And I was like, well, what kind of shape do you need to be in to do parkour? And I read somewhere that somebody said, oh, you need to be able to do this many pull-ups and this many push-ups. And well, I couldn't do any of that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to I'm going to be able to do these pull-ups and push-ups, and then I'll go do the parkour class. And so, I had a pull-up bar, and of course I'd grab it and I would pull and nothing would happen. And so I was like, okay, I need to do negatives. And so I'd get up there and I would try to hang, and I would just completely just drop. I couldn't even hang up there after like standing on a chair. And so I worked on that for about a week, and then that was over. I didn't keep doing that. It was too frustrating. And about a year later, I was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to try parkour again. And so I just decided to go to a class and not worry, And so that's what I did. And it was really hard. And I thought I had to prove that I deserved to be there. My friend went with me. We were the oldest ones there. Everybody else was really good. It was an adult class. And I thought I had to try to keep up with everybody. And I walked out of there just shaking uncontrollably because my muscles were so fatigued. And I couldn't hardly walk up and down my stairs for the next week. I couldn't raise my arms above my head. I couldn't wash my hair. I was just like, I had never been so sore in my entire life. And most of the stuff I do, just so you just, if you're not used to moving your body like that, it hurts. And so I learned from that, and I just went back. I just kept going back, and I I just took as many breaks as I needed to take. And I just
Yeah.
decided I just can't keep up with everybody right now. And so I went for like once a week for a couple of months, because it took me a week to recover from each class. And then eventually started going twice a week and 3 times a week. And so now I can be there for 2 or 3 hours at a time, several times a week.
Mhm.
But it took a while to build up to that, and a lot of swallowing my pride and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that is so, so, so inspiring. I mean, because I mean, I know what that's like to not be good at something at first, and anybody of any age, they will be so tempted to give up and say, well, that's not for me. I'm not going back. And but the fact that you kept going back, sore as everything, and you kept going back. And then as a personal trainer, sometimes I'll work with people or talk to people, and they're like, well, I'm too old, I'm old now. And they're early 40s, sometimes they're mid 30s. And I'm like, no, you're designed to keep moving. And I mean, to watch you run up on those boxes and pulling yourself up, I'm like, nobody has any excuses. I mean, because obviously you had to work for that. And you're showing what is possible when you don't say, well, I'm too old and I never did it. And it's really something. I hope you are so proud of yourself. I
Thing.
hope you
I, one thing that kept me going was once you start seeing some changes, once you start seeing some progress, and I think this is true with something like parkour or with the diet, it's self-inspiring, and it's like you start seeing that. It's kind of like the dopamine rush. It's like, I did this thing. I didn't think I'd ever be able to do it, and now I can do it. What else can I do? And that's what's kept me going. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. For me it is. But finding something that you really love doing, even if you suck at it, because I knew once I got past, there was an adaptation period for parkour as well. Once I got past that, it was so much fun. It's like I was obsessed with it. It was all I thought about, and it was just so nice to have something healthy to be obsessed over,
Mhm.
and yeah, but you just can't take yourself too seriously. Because I'm in a class lots of times, and everybody else is, I've been in classes where everybody else was 12 and under, and it's awkward. It feels weird. You feel invisible. They just step right in front of you like you're not even there, um, but I don't know, you get used to it, you get over yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to just get over yourself and just go do it, because you're missing out on so much fun if you don't.
Mhm. Yeah, and you definitely did good finding something that was fun. Because I mean, when you're having fun, or I've found that if I go and do something really fun, I'm gonna get a way better workout, and and not even realize it because I'm having such a great time.
Right. And the first time I had done a pull-up, well, that I was just hanging from a bar one day. I'd never been able to do one, and but I would hang from a bar a lot. And I just decided to pull, and I went halfway up, and I completely shocked myself. I think I just let go. I was so shocked that I moved on that bar. But it wasn't because I had been trying to do pull-ups. I was trying to climb on top of a wall. And that had built up that strength, and it's a lot of work, and to try to learn how to climb on top of a wall, or to climb down from a wall without falling off of it. And I had worked on that and worked on that. I wanted to do it just so I could be able to climb up a wall, not because I was trying to build any particular muscle or anything. And that's what gave me
Right.
the strength to pull up on that bar for the first time. And then after I did that, I knew I had the potential of doing a full pull up. And after 2 or 3 weeks of trying, I was able to get my first one. So, but I hadn't even really been trying to do pull ups. I was just trying to do parkour, you know.
Yeah, just having fun. Just
Mhm.
having fun.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So do you go and train parkour fasted or are you usually in the fed state?
I can do both. Most of my classes are at night, and I
Okay.
usually eat in the morning. I need at least minimum 6 hours of no food before I go.
Okay.
I cannot do it with food in my stomach at all. I usually eat by 9 in the morning, and I usually am at the gym by 5 in the afternoon. And so I don't do
Okay.
anything in that time period. But if I ever do
Okay.
anything in the morning, like if I ever do anything before noon, I will go on it. I will go fasted, and
Okay.
I'll be fine with it. But I don't like going all day without it.
Okay.
If I do a 24-hour fast, I'll eat in the morning and then I'll just not eat till the next morning. That's usually if I do fast.
Okay.
That's easier for me than trying, because I'm always hungry in the morning. I don't know. A lot of people aren't, but I'm always hungry in the morning. That's when I want to eat. I can easily skip the evening, but I usually don't.
Yeah.
I just can't eat enough in that one meal to do it on a regular basis.
Okay. Okay. So you usually do like 2 meals a day then?
I usually do 2 meals a day. And then so if it's a day I'm going to the gym, I'll eat in the morning and then I won't get home till 7:30 usually. And so I'll go almost 12 hours between meals. About once a week this time of year, my husband and I go hiking, and sometimes we don't get home until 10 o'clock at night, and that'll be my fasting
Mm-hmm.
because then I don't have to worry about, I'll eat in the morning and then we get home at night and I take a shower and go to bed and I don't even think about it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really my day that I fast if I'm going to do a fast.
Okay. Okay.
Usually
Yeah,
just,
me and you are a lot alike because I usually do 2 meals a day also, and I'll have one in the morning, one earlier in the morning, and then one in the evening. So I'll skip lunch and then fast till the next day. But I feel like that's really not very common. Most people are like, oh, I eat 2 of my meals in the morning or 2 of my meals in the evening. But I feel like I need to break them up
mm-hmm.
and because I just can't do it all at one time. Um, so what do you eat? What are you typically eating? What's your go-to
Mostly beef.
day?
I mostly do beef, butter, bacon, and egg yolks. I can't do the whites. But I have beef with every meal, and if I have anything else, it's kind of like a side. So I might have a couple of pieces of bacon, a couple of egg yolks, or I might have a little bit of chicken or a little bit of fish. Um,
Hmm.
but it's probably 90% beef, and
Okay.
like right now, um, I'm doing ground beef, and so I usually have half of my meal as ground beef, and I'll eat that first, and then my second half is steak. So I feel like so if I eat the steak last, it kind of feels like I just had steak. So, but it saves money to have the ground beef as part of my.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah,
Kind
that's a good
of got
idea.
to having the ground beef now, and so now if I don't have the ground beef, I'm kind of like I'm missing the ground beef, and so yeah, it's worked out. It's worked out well.
Okay, and then what's your favorite food if you're gonna splurge on something and maybe it's your birthday or special occasion? What do you love to have? What's your favorite carnivore food?
Ribeye. I have to be careful with it because it does have a lot of fat, but like right now, ribeyes are on sale because it's
Yeah.
Labor Day, and so that's what we've been having. But yeah, that's my favorite. But I also eat a lot of like petite sirloin, and I don't hear a lot of carnivores talking about that cut. Uh, and they're usually on sale. They get put on sale a lot, and we eat that a lot. Sometimes you can get them for $3 a pound, you know.
Oh, wow.
But I usually, you know, I might have to add some fat to it, and then tri-tip, we do that quite a bit when it's on sale. We basically use what's on sale. That's just kind of how we do it. But yeah, those are the three main ones that we have.
Yeah.
Ground beef.
Okay, so carnivore has brought you a lot of strength. It's allowed you to progress in your parkour. Are there any other benefits you've gained from this way of eating, or anything unexpected that happened for you?
I'm hoping that as I continue with this, that more things come up.
Mm-hmm.
The no food cravings, that was really, you know, up until just in the past few weeks, that was the big thing. Is not, and I don't know if I don't know how many people, if you've never experienced it, not all of a sudden not having food cravings, what a big deal it is mentally. It's just like it just frees up your mind to think about other things, you know.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, that was one of the bigger deals, because I healed most, you know, I had problems with itchy skin and hives and acne and the gut issues and joint pain. I took care of all that with like paleo and keto, just by cutting out, you know, certain foods. And so I didn't have, like, when I did carnivore, there wasn't like this huge change for me, because I wasn't bad off,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I mostly did this
Yeah.
for the strength. But so the changes have been subtle for me. But I'm glad I
Yeah.
stuck with it, because I'm starting to feel it now. I'm starting to feel the difference, and
Mm-hmm.
excited to see what's to come. And then, like, going to the grocery store is like, there's nothing, you know, I go buy some meat and eggs and toilet paper maybe, and then I'm done. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
when I cook, fortunately I can have like reheated leftover meat. I don't have the histamine problems that a lot of people do. I'll cook a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and you know, I may cook once every 2 or 3 days. And so that's very convenient to just be able to eat leftovers and not have to cook all the time. And then surprisingly, I do not get bored with it at all. I feel like when you have a lot of variety on your plate, you want a lot of variety and you tend to eat more. And then when it's more simple, I don't know, at first it was kind of hard to not have all, because I was used to having a lot of different things on my plate, a lot of different colors and things like that. And so at first it was difficult, but after a while it was just like, this is, you know, when I'm hungry, this is what I want now, you know. And
Right.
so it was surprising that I didn't get tired of meat. I actually have grown to enjoy it much more, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember who said it, but they were saying you don't, what did they say? They said you don't eat what you like what you eat. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're eating all meat, I know for me, I really like meat a whole lot more since that's all I'm eating.
Right. You know, and when I was a kid, I didn't like a lot of vegetables and, you know, beans, and I ate a lot of fruit, but I didn't eat a lot of vegetables. And as I got older and I became more health conscious, you know, of course, you're supposed to eat all of these vegetables. And I like made myself eat broccoli, and I made myself eat avocados, even though I hated them. And eventually I got to where I liked them because I ate them all the time.
Yeah.
But now I don't miss them now, as you know, when I think about eating broccoli or avocado, I'm like, no, I don't really want that. I still want the fruit, but you know, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fruit was probably the hardest thing to give up for me. all the healthy foods. That was what was the hardest thing to give up. All the things that were supposed to, that I was told
Yeah, it's kind
are
of
like
like,
healthy. That was the hardest things to give up.
yeah. I fruit is kind of like nature's candy, so it's
Mhm.
definitely something that has some craveability, and then it's not like it's a cupcake, so you can't just look at it and be like, oh, well, that's poison, you know?
Yeah, and I've actually been eating some blackberries because they're ripe. I just when I go for a walk,
Yeah.
they're fine. And so the last month or so, I've been eating some just because it was always the plan that when the blackberries are ripe, it was like a test.
Mhm.
Whole thing for me is an experiment.
Yeah.
And when I'm out there, it's hard for me to stop eating them. And I was worried that food cravings would come back.
Okay.
And they haven't. So, I'll when I go for a walk in the morning, I will only eat them in the morning on an empty stomach. I will not eat them after, because if I eat them after I've had other food, it's not good. And I'll blow
Mhm.
it up. And so I know that I will only eat them in the morning. But I was kind of concerned if I started eating them that I would start having those cravings again, but I haven't. And that's been nice. But they're almost all dried up now, so I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Not my plan to start buying them at the store or anything like that. But
Right.
just they're ripe for about a month, a year, and you know, I just feel like that's a
Yeah.
fairly natural way to consume them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My grandpa, he's got a blueberry tree in his backyard. And so I was like, okay, well, when Papa has his blueberries, because I usually go and pick them for him anyways, and I'll bring them in his house. This year the birds ate them, and I had fully intended on having a few of them. And I was like, oh man, you birds.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe next year. Um, okay, well, the last question I have for you is what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about trying carnivore or just starting out?
Um, to learn as much as you can about what can happen that's not positive. Learn how to deal with the low energy and the fatigue. Learn about the electrolytes that you may need to temporarily supplement with, and just research and listen to as many people as possible, but at the same time realize that you may not have the same results that they do. Your carnivore experience may not be miraculous, and a lot of people, and I fully believe them completely, that they had these miraculous results, but it's not true for everyone. And um so yeah, just and to give it more a lot of people say try it for a week or try it for 30 days. That is not long enough.
Mhm.
It even someone like me, I had been keto for 4 years. I had been ketovore, which is 10 grams or less, for probably 9 months before I did carnivore, and I still had adaptation issues after all of that. And if you're coming from a standard American diet to carnivore, if unless you're just really sick and already feel so bad, maybe that does then make a positive difference and you feel like you have tons of energy. I did not. My energy dipped. And I think a lot of people
Mm,
do, but I've heard other people say, oh, they just have energy. I still don't have the energy I want to have, that I think I should have. I've always
mhm.
felt like my energy was low. And so I've still struggled with sleep. Some people say their sleep just gets so much better. Mine has not. It's not worse, but it's not any better.
Yeah.
And I've always struggled with my sleep. And so, just results may vary, you know. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's worth
Yeah.
it. Doesn't mean you're not going to benefit from it just because you don't have the same experiences as somebody else. But yeah, and just if you get advice from, I don't like giving advice as far as what to eat, because I've heard so many people say
Hmm.
eat 2 to 3 pounds of meat a day, and there's just no way I could eat that much.
Yeah.
And that you have
Right.
80 to 90% fat. I could, I would never leave the house if I ate that much fat.
Mm,
And, so you've just got to figure out what works for you. And
yeah.
at
Yep.
some point, you've got to stop listening to everybody else. At first, you
Yeah.
have just to learn what's out there, but then you've just got to figure out for yourself.
Yeah, definitely this whole experience has taught me a lot of people say a lot of things and none of them are, none of them know about me. They can't, nobody could ever, be like, well, this is exactly what you should do and it's definitely going to work for you. The only way you're ever going to know is if you experiment and
Right.
figure out for yourself.
It's funny, after that pull-up video, I made the mistake. I usually only use hashtags on Instagram that are carnivore related. And I did a pull-up hashtag pull-ups.
Okay.
And so I got my first anti-carnivore comment.
Oh,
And he was nice. He says, your diet doesn't have anything to do with it. This is just, And I was like, I tried to explain my position through the comment. Well, he sent me several voice messages, my direct messages.
oh
And
my goodness.
he was very nice. He was very concerned about me and thinking that I'm harming myself and thinking, saying, oh, there's other ways you can get, I know you said that you can't eat plant protein, but what about dairy? You can eat dairy and that has, and, he was making all of these assumptions about me. And he had no idea my history. He didn't look through any of my other posts where I've talked about things that I had done in the past, and it was just, people make so many assumptions, that just because something works for him, something works for somebody else, they think this is how everybody should do it. And, and he also accused me of promoting false advertising or false, claims that I was promoting a carnivore diet. And I've never once said anybody should do a carnivore diet.
Yeah.
I'm doing this as an experiment. I'm saying what I did and I'm saying what's happened to me. And I've never once said anybody else should do it. I know people who are vegans and they seem fine. I don't know what to eat. I just know what's right for me. And, but yeah, that was an interesting experience. I haven't responded to him. I'm still trying to decide if I'm just going to ignore it or respond. But
Yeah,
he was very nice and very concerned, and he wanted to send me all kinds of research, and he wasn't hateful about it at all. And so, and he's a very young guy, probably in his 20s, and when I was in my 20s, I ate whatever I wanted to, so.
Yeah. Well, at least he was nice.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who are not nice at all.
Yeah. This is just my first experience of somebody calling me out on it, I guess. And so it was kind of strange, but because I'm like, I'm a nobody in this world, there's so many more people that are really pushing a carnivore diet. And I'm like, nobody pays attention to me. So, it was kind of strange to get that kind of response. It's probably the first time he's ever come across it.
Yeah, it's definitely weird when somebody does come across something because it's kind of like, oh wow, how did you even find me?
Those stupid reels, it's like they go everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That'll do it. The reels for sure.
Once they started making all the videos reels, it's like I'm all of a sudden getting 5,000 views where I used to get 150.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, they definitely promote the reels. That is a fact. Well, Shelly, this has been so nice. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday and meeting with me. Oh,
thank you for having me. I don't ever talk about it, and so it's nice to have somebody to discuss, because I don't know anybody else that does.
That's it for today. Until next time, stay meaty, stay strong, and stay inspired. Do you have a carnivore story to tell? Connect with me on Instagram at meat, M-E-A-T, Mrs. M-R-S, Grubs, G-R-U-B-S. I would love to interview you, and the world needs to hear your story and how meat heals. Thanks so much for watching and all your support. Bye-bye till next time.